Hey guys! Today we're doing the Bands of Mourning part 2. The first part of part 2 actually, and this will be chapters 5 up to and including 10. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe below. If you have any opinions that are different from mine, I would love to hear them, but let's get to it. So in chapter 5, we find our gang on a train ride. So the train ride they left on at the end of part 1, as you may remember. We see Wax getting surprised by all of the civilization outside of Elendel, which shows his change from the lawman to the actual nobleman. He also gets a package from Renette with some weapons in it. I think it's a ball and chain and a very heavy shotgun, which is made to fight thugs and Kolos, I think, yeah. We also see him and Steris discuss politics and trade with Steris, Elendel politics and trade, of course, with the outside cities. And he finds out she's reading a book about sex. After that, they have a conversation, not only about sex, of course, but also about how she does not feel that she fits in to the group. It kind of puts her into the fifth wheel on the wagon role. Wax comforts her, of course, and tells her that it's not true. It might have some truth to it, at least in the beginning, not so much anymore now. But you know, they seem to be growing closer to one another, Steris and the group on one side, and then Steris and Wax on the other side, which is depicted real nice in this next scene and the last scene of chapter 5, which is when Steris actually convinces Wax to search their financial ledgers, which she has all brought with her, for I think it's three notes that missing, a small transaction that's missing. I think it's 3 out of 1.5 million or something like that. He says it's in the chapter. I don't know the exact numbers. And she convinces him by actually explaining to him that it's like detective work, which does make sense because, you know, it's finding a solution to a mystery. And that's where chapter 5 ends. And then we immediately switch to chapter 6, and that's Merassi's point of view, where she's going through Vendel's notes. And she compares the beasts in Vendel's notes in Relure's description to the book she received from Spook about hemalurgy, connecting that to one another. Wayne is of course nearby as well. He's learning people's accents and being a general goofball, you know, as we're used to by now from Wayne. They talk to each other about being in Wax's shadow. Especially Merassi feels in Wax's shadow. Wayne doesn't really care because, yeah, he is the psychic. He probably knows that, but he does not mind. But then Merassi remembers that she received an earring and a little pouch for Wax. I'm sorry. And she goes there to deliver it to him when she finds both Wax and Steris frantically searching through the papers, and actually, I think Wax is just calling out that he found the last of the missing pieces just when Merassi enters. She gives him the notes and the earring, and then she turns her back, but she sees the guard, which she passed by when entering. She sees him leveling a gun at her. Chapter 7 immediately begins after that, when Wax feels the train coming loose, or his wagon coming loose from the rest of the train, and he instinctively starts his steel bubble, you know, where he gently pushes in all directions, or in every direction, which luckily deviates the bullet, saving Merassi. The train's being robbed, of course, as you might have figured out. So a classic train robbery, like in the westerns, which is a nice callback, in my opinion, to the Alloy of Law. And of course, a battle ensues with the bandits. After Wax gets the train back together using his powers, you know, heavily weighing himself down and pushing on the train, and then just giving it momentum in multiple pieces. Actually, he doesn't give it one big push, he gives it a lots of small pushes, so get its momentum going. But right when he does that, the train, it comes back together, then he jumps on, but then there's this small metal cube which one of the bandits throw at him, and all of his steel reserve just like that vanish. And then the point of view switches to Marasi, who is in a firefight with those bandits, with Steris on as her right-hand girl or woman, reloading her guns for her because she's trying to shoot multiple at the same time, or trying to give them a continuous stream of fire, I think. And Marasi actually kills a bandit without thinking. She just sees him trying to take a hostage and instinctively shoots him. But she, in the meantime, loses track of Steris, while she's overthinking it in her mind. So we lost Steris. But then back to Wax, who is battling a coin shot. He's a huge man who's battling a coin shot, who's gotten a hold of his shotgun, the one that actually is tailor-made for a guy that can multiply his weight. He shoots the gun, the bandit, but not knowing what strength the gun has, he gets wounded. The gun drops and his hand gets wounded because he tries to hold on to it, but the kick is so big that he can't. In the meantime, Wax is trying to get to one of his vials with the steel in. He had already used up one of his vials, and the other one was being pushed away by the coin shot. So he tries to get it, but he can't reach it. Then he pushes again, and he can't reach it again. Then Steris actually shows up. He sees someone crawling, climbing up the ladder at the back of the wagon, because they're on top of the wagon. And he says, "Oh yes, it's Wayne, luckily," but no, it's Steris with that shotgun. She fires it, but then the kick immediately throws her off the wagon. And that's the end of chapter 7. So we immediately go to chapter 8, because, it's actually one big scene. And we see Wax rescuing Steris, jumping after her, and Wax pushes his shotgun straight down into the water to allow himself to push up from the shotgun. So he pushes himself right to Steris, he grabs a hold of her, and he pushes himself right back away from the shotgun, while at the same time reaching for it with his spike contraption. I think, it doesn't matter how he does it, but he gets the gun with him. And when they get back, he pushes himself and Steris onto the locomotive of the train, where, the machinist is there, but there's also a bandit there. He shoots the bandit immediately, but he falls down on the brakes. POV, the point of view switches to Marasi again, immediately, who's trying to find Steris, and she's talking to passengers left and right, most of them are, of course, hysterical, almost dying of fear. And she comes across this guy with a cane who's blocking her passage. And just as he's leveling his hand, probably to push her, I don't know, it's not explained yet, she levels her gun right at him. And just at that time, the train comes to a sudden stop, or at least it brakes heavily, because of Wax killing that guy. Cane guy just shoots away, he leaves, but he leaves behind a small little cube as well. And then we go back to Wax, who's killing bandits left and right, throwing a box of dynamite as well, because they were trying to blow up a piece of the train or a vault or something like that, and he pushes that box of dynamite out of a train and yanks that giant coin shot of a man off the train as well, with his ball and chain contraption that Renette gave him. The problem is now he's unarmed, but luckily there's Marasi, and she actually slows down herself and the bandits inside of her speed bubble, which causes Wax to be able to dispose of them, even being unarmed. And that's the end of that train battle scene, because at the start of the next chapter, chapter 9, we see it's a cut immediately to the train station of this small village, this local village, where they get medical attention. But they also immediately get a visit from the local police force, and the local captain says that it's part of the Night Street gang, which is a gang that has been raiding a lot lately in that area. And in the meantime, him, well, not really him, but while Wax and him are talking, Wax is actually searching for Wayne, because we haven't seen either Wayne nor Milan in these in these last 3 chapters. I think, yeah, 6, 7, 8, we haven't seen them, either of them, which is weird actually, because, you know, especially Wayne, he's always trying to get in the middle of stuff like this, but, you know, we can't find him. And after blowing off the request of the captain to investigate the Night Street gang, or to capture the Night Street gang, Wax finally finds Wayne with Milan, who is topless, in the luggage compartment. So I don't think I have to spell it out for you what was going on there. But, you know, Morossi seems a bit upset, while Wayne downplays it, actually, and says he's just moving on from Renette, as they have agreed at the end of part 1. And they also mentioned that they had no idea that there was a fight going on. You know, one in the luggage compartment, the noise from the train, and of course their own noise. So they did not know there was a fight, otherwise he would have most likely, or they would have most likely intervened as well. After that little conversation, let's put it that way, they bring each other up to speed. You know, Wax explains what happened, Morossi brings out her point of view and stuff like that, and then Morossi tells Wax that Steris is doing needlework, which is something she always does when she is extremely upset. So Wax goes to comfort her, and after that they, I think, yeah, they go by cargo train to continue to that city, New Saran, where they were heading originally. By the time chapter 10 starts, they arrive at New Saran, and they are they are marveled by the beauty of it. It's waterfalls and rivers running through the houses. It's multiple tiers as well, so you have the upper tier, and then there's a waterfall right into the middle tier, and then the river goes on, and it's branched out, so the river goes everywhere and everywhere. It's like Venice, but with, you know, different levels, something like that. Venice with waterfalls and different levels. I think that's the best description for it, because they actually use gondolas for transportation as well. Wax is actually too impatient to wait for one of those gondolas, and he grabs Morossi, not Steris, which I thought was weird, but, you know, why not? He grabs Morossi to actually go to the hotel, because their hotel is actually at the upper tier. So he steel pushes them both up there, and on the way he sees, you know, there's these broadsheets, it's a newspaper, just a different word for it, where he spots one of his old nemesis, you know, a guy he captured in the roughs. I don't remember his name right now, but I don't think that's important really, at least not yet. I've read until chapter 16 at the moment, and it hasn't come up yet, or at least it hasn't come up again. But yeah, he goes to check it out, you know, it's an old nemesis of him, but along the way he stops and then he turns back, showing something that is a bit of a character change in Wax, because, you know, normally he goes out investigating everything left and right, but now he just turns around and says to himself, no, I have to find my uncle. I have to go to Suit, or, you know, what's his name again, Edward, and find him and make him pay for his crimes. He's very determined. He actually has the what's the word? Tunnel vision. Yeah. He can only see his uncle at the moment. But after that short scene, everyone has arrived. You know, they cut the time. You know, Wax had promised everyone that he would have gone back. To pick up Wayne and Morossi and Milan. No, Wayne and Steris and Milan, actually, because he has already taken Morossi to the hotel. Just, you know, because he thinks it'll be faster, and it probably is faster, let's be honest. But they arrive, and the hotel owner introduces everyone to their respective suites or rooms. But she's not really comfortable with their behavior. You know, Wayne being a drunk and a quirky, sketchy guy. You know, Wax making these escape routes, because I think he rips out the windows. The windows were painted shut, or nailed shut and then painted over, and he just rips out or rips them open so he can steel push himself out of it if it would be necessary. I think Milan also is saying something about changing her breast size for the party. They have to go to that political party that Wax has been invited to. That is the actual goal of going to, well, the actual goal, no, the actual cover of going to New Saran, to mask their real goal. And of course that gets exacerbated by Steris. Prepared as she always is, she has made this huge book. It's I imagine it being a ledger that's really I don't have a clear example right now, but you know, this list of calamities which might happen to the hotel while they stay there, and I always imagined it like being this big tome, like Rhythm of War style, 1600 pages. I don't know what it actually is like, but it's in my mind it was something like this, and she just makes it everything worse. And the hotel owner, of course, that woman is worried because, you know, thinking her hotel, I think explosions is actually on that list. But after everyone gets their rooms, Wayne and Marasi actually go find the spike, or prepare to go to the graveyard to go find that missing spike, while while Wax and Steris and Milan are preparing for that party. And that was chapter 5 to 10. I cut off the story there, you know, just before the party. One, because it was right in the middle, and two, because it seemed like a natural ending at the moment. I might have cut it out at chapter 10. I was doubting myself. It could have gone either way, but it does not really matter. Overall, I think this was very good, because I think the train scene was a nice callback to the Alloy of Law and the Roughs and, you know, Wax's past, but also it's great to show how much he has changed, especially with, you know, him being becoming something that he loathes, in the sense that he has now started thinking that Elendel is the center of civilization, and he's actually surprised that there is civilization outside of the big city of Elendel. We also see Wax and Steris growing closer to each other in that first chapter, and in the next chapters as well. But especially in that first chapter, where they have this nice conversation to each other, this real open, honest conversation, and they actually find common grounds, a common interest, you know, that detective work, even though they have different fields of interests, to put it that way, they both have the same method to find something, to solve a problem, which makes them appreciate each other a lot more. And then we have chapters 6, 7, and 8, which consist of the actual train battle, with, of course, some great moments for both Wax and both ladies, you know, Steris and Marasi, being actual badasses, actually. Yeah, I don't think I can describe it any other way. And then chapters 9 and 10 are a bit slow again. Not slow in the sense of slow reading, but, you know, not that frantic, high-paced action we see in chapters 6 to 8, but, you know, chapter 9 is a bit more light-hearted, with Wayne and Milan's stuff coming closer to each other. There's also, of course, their arrival in the city, and again, Wax and Steris growing closer to each other, having a nice scene together at the end of chapter 9, you know, where he comforts her, which makes me really enjoy the characterization in this book, much more than even Shadows of Self, much more than the Alloy of Law. But there's also this political side of it, which is being foreshadowed, actually, because we see them passing this village or this city by the train, where at the station there's this, I'm not going to say uproar or riot, but there's this I think some local governor or something like that giving a speech to his inhabitants, not really instigating a civil war yet, but it gets heavily foreshadowed, you know, being Elendel against the rest. I'm not sure how that will turn out, but I think it's probably one of the main points of of part 3. I'll check. I mean, I'll see that later on because I haven't read that part either. But but characters. I mean, Steris. She's quickly becoming my favorite character in this book, even overtaking Wayne, because she started as this shy person with low self-esteem, and she's we all know she has autism. I mean, she's depicted to have autism, but she's actively growing closer to Wax on the one hand, and as couple, but also her personality is growing closer to Wax's personality, because after she found that common interest, she actually goes out to protect her husband, or her husband-to-be, without thinking of the consequences, something which is not like her at all. She goes out into the danger to protect her husband, and I think that's a very nice continuation of Shadows of Self and of part 1 of Bands of Mourning, but her curve, it doesn't slowly go up, it's exponential growth in this case, and I love it. It's still Steris, on the other hand, because she still hasn't lost herself. She's still that person that's always prepared. She's very organized. She's still thinking of herself. I think she gives herself a 7 out of 100. I don't know, she values herself for a mission. I have read that somewhere by accident. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but I can't remember if I've read it in these chapters or if I have read it somewhere else, but apparently she gives herself a 7 out of 100 for the mission in terms of usefulness. So she still has that inherent lack of self-esteem, but on the other hand, she goes full mama bear on those bandits protecting Wax. So this is actually a great development, and I have to give all of the points to Sanderson for that, because it gets even better. I'll discuss that in the next video, but it gets even better with Steris and Wax. Speaking of Wax, of course, our main character, he's still struggling with his anger towards Harmony, being betrayed by Harmony, feeling betrayed by Harmony, with everything with Lessie. I think that will be some kind of a recurring theme, I think, for the entirety of this book, maybe even next book, I don't know. I think that's something we will see then in a few months. Although he's struggling with that, he's really trying to make it work with Steris, which is something that's very admirable. Even though it's an arranged marriage, he actually feels something for Steris, and it's, as we have already seen in all chapters, it's growing bigger and bigger by the minute. That feeling of, I'm not going to say love, but affection, at least. It's something like that. The other part of his character growth is that he's not investigating everything he sees anymore, but really having that tunnel vision to go to his uncle. The rest of the main characters, outside of our couple, we have sidekick Wayne, who is moving on with Milan, but also keeping or staying true to himself. We have the accent he learns and the stuff he does with Marassi, going to that graveyard, find Spike, throwing himself into the battle instead of going to that party. The stuff he does with Milan, which happened off screen, these are all very typical of Wayne. On the other hand, the moving on with Renette is something that's not typical of him, and especially, during the stuff with Milan, he did not join the fight. He says it's because he didn't hear it, but Wayne being Wayne, I don't really believe it. I think he did know there was a fight going on, and he deliberately chose to stay with Milan, which is something that's also very atypical of him. Speaking of Milan, she's growing very comfortable about humans, something that was not really that apparent in the second book, to the point that she's growing so comfortable with humans that humans are uncomfortable with her, changing her breast size, according to the party, or according to the dress she's wearing. That's something. Also talking or speaking so casually about it, in the presence of other humans, being male or female, is something that she would not have done in prior books, and even her or its gender fluidity, because we all know her as Milan the woman, but for the party she actually changes her gender, and now it's his gender because Milan is becoming a man. And I think the reaction to it is something that is so great. We see some people being we see everyone watching Wayne, because they themselves, it shows that they themselves don't mind, because okay, it's a Khandra, it's normal that they are gender fluid. But then we go look at Wayne, having this, I'm not going to say love affair, but at least mild interest in Milan. And he actually says something like, I don't care, under all that, it's still Milan, which is an amazing reaction to it. I mean, it gives some representation to actual gender fluid people in the world, because there have been more and more people that, I mean, there were always lots of them, but now more and more people are having the guts to come out, which is admirable, to say the least. I'm not going into that discussion right now, and I probably never will, because that's something that is not relevant to my channel. But I really love his reaction. He just says, okay, whatever floats your boat. To me, you're still Milan, which is an amazing reaction. And of course, its representation, as I have already mentioned, next to Renette, who is actually a lesbian. It's not much, but being a book that has been written, 6 years ago, I can't remember exactly. This was, I'm not going to say ahead of its time, but a small start is still a start. I think that's the best description for it. And after that, I can't forget Marasi. She's the last character. The last main character. I think she's infatuated with Wayne. I mean, she has grown or moved on from her love for Wax. But the fact that she gets so upset at Wayne for something so small, and their interactions in the previous chapters and the previous part, is actually throwing me off. I think on one hand she has something, she feels something for Wayne, but on the other hand she just hates him so much. She thinks he's such an idiot. I don't know, I'm intrigued to see where this goes actually. But next to that, she's quickly becoming a real cop, a real constable. I think, yeah, she's the captain, so she has to, but killing a hostage taker without a second thought. But then again, she has and being prepared to kill the Kane guy, yeah. But then again, she has remorse afterwards, saying that killing is such a waste, and that when she has to resort to killing, that it means society has failed, which actually shows that she really wants to do good, which is actually, she has the perfect personality for a captain. And that's something that has grown naturally. I think she's always been like that, but now she's blossoming into this real confident, strong female lead, even more so than in previous books. She's also very loyal to all of her friends, actively searching for Steris when she couldn't find her, even putting herself in danger to find her, which shows that she has really, even though she has this, she feels this obligation to help her people, she also really has become friends with everyone, and that is something that everybody wants to see, a good friendship in books, because these are so important to the plot. A lone ranger is something that bores quickly, or the lone wolf is something that gets boring so quickly. The friendships and the plot are something that is so intertwined that the friendship cannot move without the plot, and vice versa. But all in all, I think this was a great setup for what's to come, especially now after I have already read the rest of part 2. I am planning to start part 3 tonight, maybe this afternoon, I don't know, it depends on how long I spend editing this video. I'll see you later on. But anyway, next week will be chapter 11 up to the end of part 2, which will be chapter 16, and I guess I'll see you then. If you have any questions or any opinions about whatever I have said, comment them down below or send me a message. I will answer, I promise. I will check them. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye now.